WNST time around here as we get ready for all things Santa Claus and gingerbread and eggnog and cookies and, of course, football this weekend. The Philadelphia Eagles travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. We only get this action every 8 years. These cheesesteak eaters come down here. My guy Dave Ginsburg covers all things AP, which means Orioles, Ravens, Terps. He's one of the few guys. Dave, you get around to all these places. I mean, well-rounded individual. I guess the question for today is, any championships coming down the line, right? I mean, with the Orioles, it feels like a little bit going the wrong direction all of a sudden, with the Ravens certainly needing to win 3 games in a row. The Terps a little step backwards this year in personnel. You know, there's not a lot of hope for a title in 2017 around here, is there?
No, I would not say a title. I think we're going to have some fun, and the Orioles. I think they'll remain competitive, and the Ravens. They could get in. We'll see them in January for playing a football game, and maybe into the playoffs for a little bit. But championships likely not. And by the way, Nestor, in my lifetime, I will never see Maryland football win a national championship. I'm sad to say I think they could be competitive, but that's one thing. I saw the basketball team win one. I don't think you and I will ever live to see them win a national title in football.
Does DJ Durkin believe that? I don't think he does, and I don't think Kevin Plank believes that, and I think, what Plank saw happen out in Oregon and these other programs, that if you infuse the money, what do they say? If you build it, they'll come, right? And you've been down there often enough, recently enough. I have not, to see the shelling out of Cole Fieldhouse, where you and I used to sweat it out back there in the 80s and the 90s, watching first Lefty and Wade, and then, of course, the Gary Williams teams. Maryland is the acorn that could become the oak in the Big Ten, but I would agree with you. There's a lot of thought into that now that Penn State has made its way all the way back. Michigan is formidable again. The whole notion that 2 years ago they went and won in Michigan and won in Penn State gave us a little bit of hope, but those programs seem to have retooled a little bit, especially James Franklin up at State College, right?
Well, I'm not going to argue with that. And you know what? Maryland was a heck of a lot better this year, and they still have a bowl game to go than they were last year. I saw improvement, and they're making some great recruiting. So, I believe that they will absolutely be competitive in the Big Ten. May even win a title one day, but we're talking national championship. The feeling I had in Atlanta when Maryland won the basketball title in 2002, I don't know that I'll ever get that in terms of football, which is, that's cool. Not everyone wins the national championship. I'm just glad at least now they're somewhat competitive and appear to be in the right direction.
Well, let's move to the basketball team because that is your passion, and we'll get to the Ravens and the Orioles. Dave Ginsburg joining us here. He's Ginsy3 out on Twitter. Great follow for all things Baltimore sports. And, of course, if you're on WNST.net, Dave Ginsburg stories pop up all the time covering all the local sports. So we are appreciative to our partnership with the AP and with Stats as well for that. Maryland, on the basketball side, they're 11-1. I think that it's a very easy sell for Turgeon and Bino and the rest of them down there, and then even Mello to say, we're not even ranked. Nobody believes in us. We've had some Big 12 victories in Georgetown, and we spit it up the one night against Pitt and whatnot, but the Big Ten plays around the corner. They'll have their opportunity. Hell, they might be 15-1 by the time they see Indiana in a couple weeks, right?
They could very well should be 15-1. I just think that, as does Mark Turgeon, it's a team that's going to get better as it goes along. A lot of freshmen on this team, and freshmen that are already playing pretty well, and Mello is just really getting used to the guys around him. I think they're going to be very competitive in the Big Ten. I think they'll make the tournament. They might win a game or two. I mean, this team isn't going all the way, but the one that you see now is not as good as the team you're going to be seeing in February and March. And that, of course, is a good thing. I don't see them deteriorating. I see them getting better as they get used to playing with each other, as Jackson, a great-looking freshman, gets better, gets to learn the game. it's going to be a good team. It already is a good team, going to be a better team.
Well, I think it's certainly scrappy, right? And for the first period of these, little sisters of the Poors and the Howards and the Jacksonville States and whatnot, it's given Turgeon a chance to put a lot of guys in there. And you get a look at Tchaikovsky and Brantley, all these guys, and I'm wondering what the real rotation is going to look like on a sweaty night at Assembly Hall. Like who's going to be out there on the court when it matters. Besides Trimble, clearly Jackson, Herter's going to get his minutes, but the rest of these guys, the Dodds and the upperclassmen that haven't produced and guys that we've forgotten about and Nickens and guys that have been a little bit around the edges. I mean, last year he had 7 starters in 5 spots for them. This year he has 3 starters and 6 or 7 other guys looking for playing time. And the one thing that I noticed in the early games is just the difference between last year and this year. You've kind of needed to figure out who's got what number on his back and who's going to be playing in what role this year for this team, right?
Completely, a very good analysis there. And, when you look at the last game, they had 6 guys reach double figures, led by Trimble, of course. I don't think it's a bad thing that they have many that he really can't decide on his rotation just yet. Because there are going to be times, maybe Jared Nickens will find his shot, and he'll be getting more playing time. Right now, he's pretty well deep on the bench, and that could change. That could, it could easily turn around. And remember, they started the season with LG Gill in the starting lineup, not anymore. Tchaikovsky really looking good, and he's getting the start while there's an injury, and to Dodd, and he's playing well. So I think that at this point, there's going to be a lot of guys playing, even once they do get to those sweaty nights in Indiana and at Michigan State. I think he's got a lot of guys he can turn to in case someone doesn't have a shot going, much more so than last year when they had the solid 5 starters, 2 decent players off the bench, and that was basically it as far as depth goes.
Dave, for the Ravens this week with the Eagles coming here, this is the first time. Monday night was the first time when they were losing 23-3, even when they got back in the game, and they almost won the game. And there's a point to be made. The Weddle and bust up and Elam in the backside. If that doesn't happen, we go ifs and buts all day long with it. This is the first time I would bet against the Ravens. I don't really believe they can go to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati in back-to-back wins and win 2 games on the road. I'm from Missouri on this one. I'm going to need to be shown that in the next couple of weeks.
Well, that's a pretty good assessment. And let's put it this way: wouldn't bet on it, but I surely wouldn't bet a lot against it.
Fair enough.
They seem to have. They play the Steelers well, and that's going to be the game. I'll tell you what: if they win that one, they're not going to fold up against the Cincinnati team that really the only thing they're going to have to play for is to upset the Ravens. Sure, there'll be some incentive there, and Baltimore is just not as good on the road as they are at home. There's no question about that. 5-2 at home, and you can do the math as to what they are on the road. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough 2 games to win, but, don't put it past them that they can't win at Pittsburgh, and if they do pull that one off, then I don't know that they're going to just let it get away from them by losing to Cincinnati.
Well, they're almost inside the heads of the Steelers a little bit, right? That they have owned the Steelers in recent years.
Well, that is exactly right. And they dominated them the first time. Now, granted, Roethlisberger was coming off an injury and really looked bad. And that 21-14 score is not indicative of how much the Ravens dominated the team. So, I would not put it past them. Let's put it this way. If I had to choose right now, are they making the playoffs or not, I would have to say not, because that is a tough 2-game schedule there, right? 2 on the road, 2 of the best teams in our division. But that said, I wouldn't put a lot of money against them pulling this off. They're just surprising this year. Once they lost those 4 in a row, everyone's talking about Harbaugh's job and, put in Ryan Mallett. And then, you know what, they've come back to make this an interesting, decent season for all the guys following this team.
But, will that be good enough for Harbaugh, for Ozzie, there will be plenty of finger-pointing going around, and certainly at the quarterback. This has not been Joe Flacco's best year. I don't know that we could have or should have expected that coming back from the injury. It hasn't been a bad year, but it hasn't been a good year.
No, agreed. And, but I always look at it this way. Okay, if he's not your quarterback, then who is? If
Right.
Harbaugh isn't the coach, who are you going to get? But, I don't know. There will come a time where John Harbaugh's message will not be received as well as it used to be. I mean, that's what happened. That's why Brian Billick was fired, because eventually people don't listen anymore to the coach, and it gets tired. That's going to happen eventually. But the question is now that time? Is now the time to replace Flacco? No, I really don't think so. Whereas I don't think the argument about elite can be made anymore. I still believe he's among the top 10, 11, 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's saying something. I mean, there are a lot of guys. I look around the league, and there are a lot of guys that I would not want those guys to be my quarterback. And I think I would not say that about Flacco. I would take him. He's managed the game pretty well without a running attack to back him up. So, is he the best? No. But he's good enough for me right now, and he'll be good enough for me next year as well.
Yeah, I'm a Flacco guy, so I think it's fascinating the heat that gets thrown and the shade on him and on Harbaugh, and I mean even the likes of Bernard Pollard popping off this week. I mean Twitter's not such a good thing sometimes, right, Gins?
Yeah, well, and Ray Lewis coming out and ripping on Flacco. Of course, apologized for it, but uncalled for. I mean, it's. You know what you get with Joe Flacco. Again, not the greatest, but he's not Tom Brady, but who is? But he's not Carson Wentz either.
Last thing for you, Wellington Castillo, huh? Matt Wieters out. You're one of the guys left with the Orioles press passes to go down there and talk to these guys. The owners' meetings last week, we didn't expect anything. I mean, as an Oriole fan, as an Oriole observer, as an Orioles journalist or former journalist in exile at this point, you could almost always lower the bar around there, right? The bar's not very high.
Well, that's their MO. And, Nestor, I can't argue with the way that Duquette's pulled it off. I don't know how much money he has to spend, but with what he's got, I like the way he works. I'm going to tell you something. I like Matt Wieters. I thought he was great. I loved talking to him, but, he was going to get $17.2 million if they gave him a qualifying offer. Ridiculous. And I like Wellington Castillo, not a sexy signing, but you know what? That's just as you're saving a heck of a lot of money and getting about the same numbers as last year. If you compare those two guys' numbers last year, they were pretty darn similar. Actually, Castillo had a better batting average. I think one or two fewer homers and about the same number of ribbies in the upper 60s. So, you know what? That's a decent hire. I'm absolutely happy with that one. They're saving money and they can invest that somewhere else. And you know what? Little by little, I think Duquette's going to make a team that will be decent enough to make a run at the playoffs, just like last year when you had Buck as your manager and some pretty good players with Zach Britton in the back end. I think you're going to be a contender.
Well, the Red Sox and the Yankees have certainly re-fortified, right? I mean, that's obvious that the Red Sox are going to be better than they've been recently.
I will not deny that. And even the Yankees look like they're going to be better. But, I'm telling you, it always looks that way on paper. And I think Boston looked better than Baltimore last year as well. And it turned out to be just good enough to beat them out. And let's face it, it was, Orioles taking third and making the playoffs. That was a decent season for what they had, and I think I would take that. Just get into the playoffs and then see what happens. Last year's team was not equipped to make a run for the title. They just weren't equipped for it, and they likely won't be this year, as we talked at the beginning of our conversation.
Hey, man.
But I do believe that they'll be contenders.
Enjoy the weekend, right? I mean, we got holidays coming up. I mean, Army-Navy was fun around here. It's been a good month. It really has been. I mean, the Caps are doing well. They're on a little bit of a tear right now. I've been getting down there, watching them a little bit. Plenty going on in the corridor. And for those of us up here, we get to watch the Redskins lose and circle the drain, too. That's always a lot of fun.
Right you are, my man. Right you are.
See you soon, man. We'll see you down at Cole Fieldhouse for sure, and I'll see you on Sunday at the ballpark.
Sounds great, Nestor. Take
You got
care
it.
now.
I say Cole Fieldhouse. I still call it that. It's the Comcast Center, the Xfinity, whatever it is at this point. Dave Ginsburg, he's Ginsy3 out on Twitter as well as in the AP, and you can always follow his work out at WNST.net on the backside of our website where you get the news, the information, the box scores, the stats, the standings, all of that stuff, and we send it to you in the WNST morning newspaper digitally, all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Don't forget, Tuesday night we'll be at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen with Mike Wallace, wide receiver of the Baltimore Ravens. We'll be chatting. First chat, really, I've had with Mike publicly. It'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully a victory over the Eagles, and looking forward to good things for the holidays and the Steelers next week. Mike Wallace swabbing for There Goes My Hero, the DKMS, and the Bone Marrow Registry on Tuesday at Adams Jeep. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, enjoy the weekend. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.